Construction of the railroad in 1883 made this a place of importance, largely because we are at the top of the hill out of Needles. In fact, Goffs is in a pass, downhill in both directions, and it's the highest point on the railroad and the highways that came after it, between the Colorado River and Cajon Pass. And since it was a high point and a pass, it became an important place for the railroads. Another factor was that we're sitting on top of a large aquifer here, so there's plenty of good boiler quality water, about 560 feet down, all the water you want to pump out of the ground. So this became a place where during the age of steam, where all the steamers stopped to take on water. Deep wells were sunk. Then in 1893, 10 years later, a short line railroad was built north out of here. Went 30 miles up into the north end of the New York mountains. Then there was a branch that went east to Searchlight, Nevada. It's the only place where Santa Fe rails ever penetrated the state of Nevada. The connection into Searchlight was built and finished in 1907. Railroad Day was April 1st, 1907, in Searchlight. So this became a rail junction. So a depot was built down here. And a small community began to flourish. Next thing that happens is, along about 1910, people discovered the automobile, and that it was good for something besides run around town on Sunday, and they began to travel across country. And those early automobile roads followed the line of the railroads, partly because there were service roads paralleling the railroads, and partly because, since it was the age of steam, there had to be water going across the arid west. So by 1910 or so, there's a steady trickle of automobile traffic through this pass. By 1913, enough vehicles were using the road that paralleled the Santa Fe that it acquired a name. It's called the National Old Trails Road. And I'll jump ahead of myself here just a little bit. In 1926, when the federal government passed out numbers and designated what really was the first interstate highway system, there was a convention. Everybody went to the convention. And everybody wanted an even number, 20, 30, 40. And the proponents of this route failed in that effort. And the very best they could do was the United States Highway 66. So the original alignment of U.S. Highway 66 actually is the southern boundary of our property here, which is one of the historical highlights of this place. So in addition to gathering together the documents that tell the history of the eastern Mojave Desert, we have a publication arm called the Tales of the Mojave Road Publishing Company. And the idea there is to disseminate the information that we have gathered into the public. So to date, we have published more than 25 books, all of which you would call local history books that document the history of this country, and that's ongoing. We published one not long ago. We got another one that will come out this year. Another branch of our activities that actually goes back long before we acquired this property here is the development of interpreted four-wheel drive recreation trails. The first one was the Mojave Road, and we began the work on that under a different name called the Friends of the Mojave Road. Matter of fact, we kept that name until 1993 when we incorporated. The Friends of the Mojave Road developed 138 miles of the old Mojave wagon road into a four-wheel drive recreation trail. And that was completed in 1983, so for the better part of 30 years now, it has served that purpose, and several thousand vehicles a year And it's a family-oriented kind of thing. Go over the Mojave Road. And we have kept the Guide to the Mojave Road in print as a major part of our publications program. And just a few months ago, we published the 4th edition to that book, which features GPS readings for the first time.